Welcome to the Body Talks podcast with me, Dr. Brook. I'm a chiropractor extraordinaire who speaks the language of the body, not to be confused with body language. Join me on this show as I disrupt current beliefs about where health comes from and how you can discover your greatest health potential without having to spend hours away from your life's work in order to do so. Because reaching these levels of health is possible once you learn how to carry on a dialogue with the greatest creation to ever exist, the human body. By tuning into the whispers your body speaks and addressing them, you avoid the potential damage that is created when the body begins to scream, allowing you to experience healing in a whole new way. This show will guide you towards true health so you can continue to change the world. Your body holds the answers. I'm here to help you discover them on the Body Talks podcast, starting now. Welcome. Dr. Brook here with another episode of the Body Talks podcast. And today, or tonight, if you notice the ambiance in this room, for those of you who might be watching on YouTube, those of you listening on all of the podcast platforms, the room is dimly lit. I have no makeup on my face, just a light little lip gloss, and I'm getting ready for bed. So with that said, I bet you I've clued you in a little bit to the topic at hand. We are going to be talking about sleep. That's right, sleep. Now, for those of you who are my entrepreneurial type friends who like to really work, hustle, and work both ends of the spectrum, right? All the way to the wee hours of the night, getting up early in the morning to start the whole process over again. You're going to be in for a big surprise. And I think that even for my non-entrepreneurial friends, we tend to kind of look at sleep as this elusive thing to be avoided. You know, maybe you're working a full-time job and you come home and you just want the downtime, right? You want to binge watch your shows. You want to do these things and spend a lot of hours maybe scrolling the internet and really utilizing time the way you want to be doing it rather than the way that you've done it over the last 8 hours of your day, of your workday. And I just kind of want to take some time during this episode and really convey to you all how important sleep is. Now, if this is your first time listening to any of my podcast episodes, I do want to give you a little background on my philosophy of health. We are taught that health is this thing, this attainable thing that we're all trying to work towards achieving, right? Some people more so than others. More people are aware, other people may not be. And, you know, even those people that have the awareness factor, this could be you, where you're literally listening to every single health summit, every single guru, taking every supplement under the sun, doing all these things in hopes to reach this utopia of the greatest expression of yourself. I applaud your efforts because I was there, because I was that person. I've been you. And I've also come to realize that in order to reach the health utopias that we so long and we are so, in search of and we're trying to grasp, the only way to do that is by truly listening to your body. Now, I am a certified DSA practitioner. DSA stands for Dynamic System Analysis. And essentially that is me acting as an interpreter for you in getting information back from your body. So our bodies are constantly communicating, hence the body talks. The body actually talks. It speaks to us. In the intro, I mentioned, we need to listen to its whispers before it starts screaming at us. Ways that it whispers through sneezes, through pains, through different types of things, right? Like aches, pains, headaches. Those are all signs and symptoms of bigger issues. Now, if we don't really do anything about them, the body will begin screaming at us. So as a certified dynamic system analysis practitioner, I'm able to really work with that intelligence in your body to be able to get the information out that it holds, right? One of the biggest things, your body holds the answers. It holds the answers. No guru, no person, no pill, no supplement, no nothing is going to be able to do exactly what your body needs it to do unless it's actually asked for by your body. And the beautiful, amazing thing about the work that I get to do is I get to see this unfold every day. I get to have these conversations, these unique, beautiful expressions of like my doctor brain telling me, oh, this person's symptoms are listing them out. It's got to be, must be this. And I'm already kind of going in with some sort of diagnosis on it. And I tell you, 95% of the time, a lot of times the body is like, nope, that's not it. I'm over here. I actually need this, you know? Um, I'm dealing with a patient right now, a young boy, struggling to, stay in school, dealing with a lot of headaches and struggles and things like that health wise he's been dealing with for years. And parents can't get to the bottom of it. I start working with him. I'm thinking, okay, he's probably got, I'm reading old prior reports from 3 years ago. He's got like some sort of sugar metabolism issue, according to the reports, anxiety, all these things, right? And come to find out, once I started communicating with his system, with his body, he had a zinc and copper imbalance, a zinc and copper imbalance. And then the parents tell me, oh my gosh, these symptoms actually started when we moved to this new place and they have well water. And, he's getting a lot of he has copper toxicity. Zinc and copper work in like a inverse relationship with each other. Too much copper, you get too little zinc. Too much zinc, you get too little copper. You need a healthy balance. But it was amazing. Like my brain was like, oh, he must have some, gut bacterial overgrowth in his stomach. That's what my brain told me based on the report. His body told me different. So that small little tangent to tell you, the beauty of this work is that everything I do for every single patient is very unique to them. So when somebody, which I've been asked a lot recently in the past, which is what really inspired this episode today, is they've asked me, Brooke, with the type of work that you do and the uniqueness of healthcare for each individual person and no one size fits all, what would you say is a general health tip if you were going to stand on a stage with a microphone and tell somebody or tell the audience, thousands and thousands of people, what they can do to maintain good health? What would you say? And the thing that I would say is they need to get some sleep. Sleep is so vitally important, not only to your overall well-being physically, but it's also important for your emotional well-being, your spiritual well-being, and your mental well-being. How many times have you woke in the morning or maybe woke up in the middle of the night just completely angry, cranky, upset, all this stuff? I mean, think about it. If you have kids, if you don't have kids, I'm sure you've been around kids enough to know when they are crying and they're fussy and they're cranky, what does the parent say? What do you say as a parent? Oh, so and so hasn't had their nap. Little Georgie needs to have his nap. He'll be fine after he has his nap. For children, we understand how important sleep is. For those little babies, like their developing brain, we're very in tune with, okay, well, they got to go to sleep. But for us, we think, okay, well, nap time's over. We're no longer in kindergarten. We don't have to have our little, mat and our little pillow. And, frankly, there's no time to sleep. I'm trying to manage, kids, or I'm managing my full-time job, or I'm managing my business. And while all of those things are important, you have to prioritize sleep, and that has to be part of the daily routine. So while you're managing all of those tasks, you have to make sure you fit in good quality sleep. Now, I understand I might be talking to you who are struggling to get to sleep, whether it's falling asleep, staying asleep, or feeling restful when you wake up. And we're going to touch on that. We're going to touch on what it looks like to have trouble sleeping and things that you can do about that. But before that, I kind of really want to establish some framework on why sleep is so important. Okay, so now you know the topic of discussion we're talking about. I want to read to you, and I hope this doesn't show backwards on the video, but I want to read to you out of a book called Why We Sleep: Unlocking the Power of Sleep and Dreams. Now, this book is over 300 pages, all with scientific references. And it's written in layman terms. So this is not something where you have to be a doctor to understand. If it's a book that you are interested in getting your hands on, I would highly recommend it. This is such a great book. It goes into so much detail on the physiology of sleep, what it's doing into our body, all of the things, right? I'm going to summarize pieces of it that really stood out to me that I think are going to be helpful for you as my audience. But on that note, I want to read to you a little excerpt from this book. And he kind of, for those of you watching, he kind of puts it around like a big like sign, like one of those blinking kind of signs, billboards, right? Like amazing breakthrough. So if you guys are listening on the podcast platforms, just imagine one of those blinking neon signs, right? Hey, breakthrough, breakthrough. Scientists have discovered a revolutionary new treatment that makes you live longer. It enhances your memory and makes you more creative. It makes you look more attractive. It keeps you slim and lowers your food cravings. It protects you from cancer and dementia. It wards off colds and flu. It lowers your risk of heart attack and stroke, not to mention diabetes. You'll even feel happier, less depressed, and less anxious. Are you interested? Now, all of what I said there, of course, this is not a real billboard, but all of that is really speaking about sleep. Sleep helps ward off colds and flus. One of the big things when you sneeze and your body's immune system is revving up, I always tell my audience, if this is the first time you're listening, to get good quality sleep. This will make sure your body stays healthy and strong to be able to move through whatever it's going through when the body is getting activated that way. But also, better memory, less dementia, cancer. I mean, all of these things makes you look more attractive. Like, ladies and men, when you sleep really well and you're like getting ready in the morning and you're putting on makeup, it's just like you feel like your face is glowing, like your skin is like amazing. You're just like, gosh, I can have days like this every day, right? A big portion of that is because of the sleep. So, because sleep is that important and some people struggle with it, we need to talk about ways to get good quality sleep and then things that you can do if you are struggling with sleep. Now, if you are struggling with sleep and you do implement some of the ways that I'm sharing here, and you're not able to get proper relief, reach out to me. I will put all of my links in the show notes below, and we can work on figuring out something that will help you, right? Based on what your body needs. Because sometimes it isn't what I think it needs. It isn't what, general practitioners think it needs. It isn't what nutritionists think it needs. It's what your body knows that it needs because it's so intelligent. So let's talk about ways to get good sleep. Now, I call this really like bookending the day. So we hear a lot, in about morning routines and doing all these things and, starting your day off right. But we never hear about how to end our days. We don't hear so much about that. You hear about the miracle mornings, but how do we end our day is important. And some of the ways to really start what I call winding down is, okay, so let's say right now, at time of recording, it's nearing 7 p.m. my time. Um, Granted, I am looking at a computer screen, but once the recording is done, I will put all technology away. If I continue to use technology for whatever reason, I do use blue light blockers. Blue light blockers, I use them, a lot during the day, but then you can also get the amber glasses. I can link those in the show notes below as well. But the amber glasses, are help more like towards the evening time frame, and it really just takes a lot of the blue light stress off your eyes, because what that does is all of that blue light from our phone, from our computers, from our TV screens, that really like stops the melatonin production. So uh, just in simplistic terms, as you start going towards the evening and winding down period, your body starts making more melatonin to get you tired and ready for sleep. And it decreases your cortisol levels, because cortisol is going to kind of keep you moving, keep you going, right? Too much cortisol late into the evening is one of the reasons why people struggle with sleep. So utilizing light blockers and amber light glasses, very cheap, very inexpensive investment, can make a huge difference in your sleep habits. So the other thing too is really, okay, so we talked about the glasses, but like consuming caffeine, any sort of caffeinated products, I think this goes without saying. Most of us are very familiar with caffeine and its effect on the body, but consuming caffeine after 3 p.m. or taking a nap after 3 p.m. can really throw your whole sleep cycle off. Now, naps are okay in small doses, right? You hear about the power nap. If you're going to take a power nap, do maybe 10 to 15 minutes max before noon, because that will literally, if you go any longer than the 10 to 15 minutes and later on into the afternoon, it is going to make it more difficult to sleep at a reasonable hour for you to get a good quality, 7 to 8 hours. And so I know some people may tell me they don't need that much time. I'm open. I'm not saying I'm going to be closed off to that, but I think that a majority of us are functioning best physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, the body, at 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And there's a reason for that. And there's the amount of cycles that you need to be going through in order to obtain the most benefit from those sleep cycles. And we'll talk about that briefly. So, blue light amber glasses, not consuming caffeine after 3 p.m., taking power naps. The other thing is either using blackout curtains or a sleep mask. Personally, currently right now in my living situation, I'm not able to have the blackout curtains, but I do sleep with the sleep mask, which blocks out all light. So, lights coming through the window, or like, people have like night lights, or it's not a good idea to have any like sort of Wi-Fi blinking, lights in your bedroom. I understand some people might, but really just having it completely dark. In complete darkness, the body is doing all of the work that it needs to be doing, metabolizing everything that it needs to be doing during that sleep process. The other thing, especially as we move into the cooler months, is sleeping in cooler temperatures. So if you have central heating and air anywhere between 67 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, for those of you not on the Fahrenheit schedule, I apologize. I don't know the Celsius conversion, but 68 to 60 or 67 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit will help you get some really good deep sleep. So if that's too chilly, of course, if it's too chilly for me, but I do, use blankets. So, but just kind of keeping the room temperature at that level. So, um, that's the other thing. So, those are some really good, tips that you can use to start using as part of your bedtime routine, to wind down, to get ready for bed, to do all those things. But I also want to talk to you, um, well, before I get into that, let's talk about the physiology of sleep and why it's so important. So I gave you some tips. I gave you some things that you can incorporate into your evening routines. But I want you to understand why certain things are important. Okay, so we talk about the darkness, we talk about melatonin and cortisol and how those are an inverse relationship. We want melatonin higher in the evening, cortisol lower in the evening, going to bed. Um, I understand though a lot of us are living in a heightened state of stress. And with stress comes high levels of cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone that is secreted by the adrenal glands in response to um, the metaphoric tiger, right? We are metaphorically, as a human race in general, even not even just in the last 2 years, but even prior to that, metaphorically running from tigers. Our ancestors, tigers would come, they would or not even metaphorically, they would run, they'd be safe, and everything would calm back down. We now have the ability, I don't know if this is a good thing, but this is how we've evolved as humanity, to actually be able to trigger a thought and make stress hormones start to gear up in our body to make our sympathetic, our fight or flight response kick in, which is essentially when if you've ever heard about that fight or flight nervous system response, what it's doing is it's shunting blood to your extremities. So it's shunting blood to the arms, to the legs, because you are getting ready to run. Okay. You don't care. Your body does not care about digesting the meal you just ate. It does not care about balancing your hormones or making sure your liver is detoxing properly. That doesn't matter when you're being chased by a tiger. But our evolution, the way we've evolved as a race, is we literally can trigger that fight or flight stress response, shunting blood to the limbs by thinking about bills due, by thinking about presentations we might have to give, or conversations with our boss, or schoolwork, or whatever it is, right? The stress hormone gets triggered. And so we have to now be conscious of really getting ourselves in this state of rest and digest, really getting ourselves in a more calm state so that our gut can function properly, so that our heart can function, and our liver and our stomach and our pancreas and all the other organs, right? Because they're all working to do their specific jobs, but they're all working in unison for the greater good of the soul, for the greater good of the body. And so by being in a state of rest and digest, we have our cortisol and melatonin levels properly balanced. But it's not easy to do, or it's not easy to bring them back if they're all over the place like this. So I want to talk to you about why getting good quality sleep is important. So we don't want to be in that high stress state. We want to be in a more balanced state. And sleep actually helps to rebalance those systems. So sleep will heal, right? It's during sleep that we experience true healing. So whether it's an internal injury to an organ, whether it's an external injury, the body is healing in an emotional injury. The body is healing through those sleep cycles. Now, we go through actually 5 stages of sleep. This might be not common knowledge to most people, but most people you hear about, well, I didn't get enough REM sleep. And REM sleep is a huge piece to the sleep cycle, but REM sleep is actually closest to the wakefulness state. So you go through these cycles about 4 to 5 times a night. So they go out, you move through all 5 cycles in 90-minute increments, right? And it's in REM sleep where if someone asks you, do you remember your dreams? Well, it's in REM sleep that those dreams are occurring. It's also the period of time, rapid eye movement, that's what it stands for, that your eyes are moving in all kinds of directions. or, in circular directions. And if you've ever had any sort of injury, minor or major, and this is something I do talk about quite a bit too, is your body actually keeps a memory of that. So as it's moving in its REM cycle, think about like if you bang your elbow on a table, the eyes kind of dart to where the injury is, right? It's our natural instinct to go look at the injury. So a little bit of that REM sleep gets disturbed with all of those old injuries building up in the body. So it's important to make sure you get thos cleared out. As an IRT, injury recall technique practitioner, well, DSA, I do IRT work to remove those injuries. It can help impair or repair that REM cycle sleep. But beyond REM, you have 4 cycles of non-REM sleep, NREM, stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. Of course, 3 and 4 are going to be your deepest level of sleep. That's when things happen. You're like, I don't remember that happening. Somebody's like, I came in the room and you were rustling around. You have no recollection because that was a state of sleep that you were in was so, so deep. And stage 1 sleep is kind of like when you're moving from the wakefulness state, you're kind of getting into the deeper levels and kind of moving up and down. Stage 2 sleep. Stage 2 sleep. I want to talk to you about this because I think it's very, very important to understand. Our bodies has its own natural detox pathways, right? We have a lymphatic system. Some of you are familiar with that because maybe you think about lymphatic massage or they know about lymphatics from other ways. But essentially, in simple terms, the lymphatic system is a bunch of, highways running up and down through the body and that is picking up metabolic waste as it goes and moving it through the waste cycle. So proper lymphatic flow allows your body to take toxins out, right? Now, 80% of the lymphatics drain into the left side. So all of both legs and the entire left torso drain into the left side of the body. 20% is only on the right? So body is super fascinating. There's reasons why. I won't get into that now, but it's just I get geeked out on this stuff. But these lymphatic systems are clearing out metabolic waste throughout the day, right? So you have your lymphatic system from here down. The brain has no lymphatic system, but the brain has something called the glymphatic system. So just add a G to that word and you got glymphatic system. And what the glymphatic system is designed to do is to act as a toilet, flushing all the metabolic waste, all of the waste and the toxins out of the brain. Neurons might have died or there's just waste products from it building up other proteins, doing other things. And that glymphatic system is supposed to be washing out that metabolic waste. Now, this right here is a key factor in people not sleeping well, is because what happens is their brain builds up with so much toxicity. Imagine your toilet not flushing for weeks, yet people are still using the bathroom. Like that's a visual, like imagine that. Not getting adequate sleep and having this toxic buildup in the brain not only is going to lead to brain fog and cognitive issues and dementia and all these things, but it's literally going to cause you so much difficulty getting to sleep. So in stage 2, non-REM sleep, your brain is shrinking in size to allow the fluid to come, washing it clean, right? And so we have to look at different factors that might be triggering that glymphatic system to get blocked. Things like chronic inflammation, things that you're putting into your body. Sometimes when your gut, like you have a barrier in your gut, if the gut barrier gets blown open, those toxins or those things that are moving into your bloodstream now are now pulling your blood-brain barrier open, causing your blood-brain barrier to be compromised and your brain to be compromised, right? That's why it has a barrier system, so things cannot get in. But if it's blown open, things get in. So getting on back on to the topic of sleep, like how important that is, like to really, really, really work on taking care of the health of your body and your brain by getting adequate sleep. So this is not something to just kind of push to the back burner or pretend you're going to play catch up, during the weekend, because this is not a bank. Your sleep patterns is not a bank. You don't withdraw and then, just go, I'll just deposit the rest of the money on the weekend and things will be fine. It does not work like that. You Once you have a deficit, you have a deficit, and you have to work on getting back on track with that. So, for those of you who are listening, for those of you who are watching, that sleep is one of those things that if you could, you would get good quality sleep. You would do all of the things you do all of the things that I mentioned, and yet you still struggle. Here are some things that can be done. So one big thing that I've recognized with patients as well is sometimes, people have dinner, let's say 6 or 7 p.m., and they don't go to bed till 10 p.m. Well, depending on what they had for dinner between 6 and 7 p.m., if it was a lot of carbs and, different like starches, you had the blood sugar spike, and then you don't go to bed for 3 hours, so now the blood sugar is kind of coming back down, and the body's like, hey, whoa, I have nothing to really sustain the blood sugar. So you're going up and down, up and down. The thing that helps with that is protein. So if you struggle with getting to sleep or staying asleep, some of the things that you can do, or a trick you can do, is like obviously nitrate free turkey breast, or maybe, some sort of like, a piece of meat. Like, I'm not talking about like eat a full steak at dinner, but just something like with protein to snack on. You can grab a handful of almonds. The other thing that is easy for a lot of people is just a teaspoon of almond butter. Kind of get that in the system to really help balance the blood sugar, because it's really important to balance the blood sugar in that instance. And really work on eliminating toxins out of your environment. This is not at all a statement to go on some hardcore detox. Detox is very specific, and if you push it too hard or too little, you can have very adverse effects. So it is not something to just go on some, really strainful detox, but really look at some factors in your life that could be causing buildup of chronic inflammation. Inflammatory foods. There's an entire list. You can Google search anti-inflammatory foods. So by including anti-inflammatory foods in your diet can help remove some inflammation. Big one for me is turmeric. I love turmeric. I put it on nearly everything that I eat. When I make eggs, I put turmeric on it. If I make a hard-boiled egg, I put turmeric on it. Doesn't give it a weird, awkward taste, but it's an anti-inflammatory. Now, obviously, with turmeric, one of the big things that you need to go with it, turmeric's best friend is black pepper. So that makes it more bioavailable to the body. But just consuming more anti-inflammatory foods, maybe getting an extra cup of water. This is not to drown yourself out with gallons and gallons of water. That is not healthy. But an extra glass of water to help that fluid, right, move through the body. Just like going out for a walk, maybe an evening walk as part of your wind down can help, not necessarily energize you. I don't want you doing a big HIIT workout before bed, but just a walk to just kind of get the blood moving, get things flowing, get the body exhausted to some degree, so that kind of is ready to sleep. So those are, just some takeaways, something to consider when you're struggling with sleep like that. But a lot of times what I've seen, and not entirely, because the body works in a priority system. So if sleep is the issue at hand, we may need to work on the sleep, but there might be another component that is holding that up. So you can't just be chasing symptoms. Well, I can't sleep, so I need to take sleep medication. The thing with sleep medication, over the counter or prescribed, is they don't allow you to get to stages 3 and 4. Stages 3 and 4, deep sleep, is where your healing takes place. That is where, like growth hormones are happening, like during those stages. So taking over-the-counter sleep medications, is not necessarily a long-term solution to fixing that. Or melatonin, for instance. I know a lot of people, think about melatonin and think about it as a sleep aid, which to some degree, right, it is, but more and more research is actually showing melatonin is actually a lot better as an anti-inflammatory than it is more as a sleep aid. It's not something you want to be on long term either. The body has its own melatonin production. So yeah, I just, I can't stress enough to you, my listener, how important getting a good night's rest is, how important it is to prioritize that sleep and really, really do the best job that you can to make it a priority. We make a lot of other things in our life a priority. We make going to the gym a priority. We make, making meals a priority. We make all of these other things a priority, whatever your priorities are. And we almost look at sleep as an afterthought. I'm encouraging you and urging you to look at sleep as a first thought. When you begin to do that, may take time. There might be cycle throughs that you have to do, but when you continue to do that day after day after day, trust me, things will improve. And if they don't, and you still find yourself struggling, I'm here to help. This is exactly what I love to do. I love to have these conversations with the human body. I love to see the amazingness that unfolds as a result. And I love hearing my patients' success stories happen. You're going to get to hear some more of those as we go on this podcast. So if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe below. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and connect with me on my website, Dr. Brook Sheehan, DrBrook SHEEHAN. I'm like, how do I spell my name? Just kidding. .com. And I just wanted to share with you all also some very exciting news. You can find all of this information, all my podcast episodes, links to my website, how to connect with me on the KS Media Group app. That is KS Media Group app. It's on the Google Play Store as well as on the Apple App Store. And actually, you can get exposed to all of my episodes on the Body Talks podcast from that platform. So go ahead and check it out. There's an incredible group of world changers there, people who are doing big work in the world. And I'm excited for you to get to hear from them too. So love you all. I will see you on the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to the Body Talks podcast with me, Dr. Brook Sheehan, where you're learning to pay close attention to the whispers your body is speaking so you can live a life fully expressed physically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally without spending time and money on healthy items that aren't right for you. You're uniquely made and your healthcare needs should reflect that. To learn more or how you can work with me, visit drbrooksheehan.com, that's Brook without an E, and discover your answers today.